Q&A section separately. And also, as you've heard already, the session will be recorded for the later addressing if needed. And then, yeah. Starting from a little explanation about Culture Health Solidarity. So this is the program that is co-financed by Creative Europe and is running from October 2025 up until March 2028, with the aim to empower Ukrainian professionals in the field of arts and culture to sustain their creativity, resilience, and community connection during and after the war. And with the focus of cultural cooperation, mental health and support of the well-being, and also social reintegration of the communities and vulnerable communities, including veterans. It's administrated and run by partners at European Cultural Foundation, Inšo-Svita, ZUSA, and Veteranka. Can we proceed to the next slide? Yeah. So the program involves 3 levels of grants, which are individual grants, project grants, and collaboration grants. We will talk today about the individual grants in detail, the ones that you are going to evaluate very shortly. The process starts very shortly. So on screen, you see a little bit of information about each grant, which is like the individual grants are basically for the individuals applying for the grant to support their mental health. Project grants are related to the projects and initiatives that expand access to arts and culture and heritage for displaced people and communities. And collaboration grants designed for connecting Ukrainian and European professionals and to co-create inclusive practices for the post-war recovery. And after that, we will talk more in detail about the individual grants.
Yeah, so individual grants are designed to support professionals that work in arts, culture, or community-based cultural activities, especially for creating this support for displaced Ukrainians in Ukraine or across Creative Europe countries, to support vulnerable groups, including veterans, through cultural practices. And this type of grants is designed exclusively to support individuals, not the project, but provide psychological, emotional, and well-being support to professionals to continue their work, especially for those who have been personally affected by war, displacement, or traumatic conditions. A little bit, we also talk a little bit about general frameworks and dates. Those who are present during this meeting will be evaluate applications during the first round from 2nd February to 23rd February. It's the days of applications to be submitted, and assessment will take place in March, and generally we have from 2 to 14 cycles in these for these types of grants, and grant amount is up to 1,200 euros, including taxes. And we expect to support up to 19 people and individuals during the whole period of the project.
Uliana, could you please, sorry for being efficient, could you please open the manual, and then at this moment we will talk in details more about the process of evaluation. So you received the manual before with a little or not little, but with the description or explanation about the process. And in this manual, you also next to this manual, you also receive the link for the call for proposals, also tips, useful tips that we share with the applicants how to access the application. And also by this time, you receive the link, an invitation to join the Good Grants platform, where the evaluation and scoring will take place. Enjoy will talk a little bit into details about the platform a little bit later after our introduction to the whole scoring process. So the scoring process the whole process runs in 3 phases, which the first one is eligibility and allocation, that happens right when the call ends and we don't receive the applications anymore, and it's a very technical part from the 23rd to 24th of February, where we actually access the applications, and it's done internally. The part where you join as evaluators, it's the phase 2, and it's scoring and accessing of the applications, and it's basically you work with the content and with the applications and with the eligibility criteria of the received applications. And the phase 3 is the final selection and clarifications, will be from 11th to 16th of March. And it's also done by the consortium partners internally. And you might be contacted again within this period for some clarifications as well. So let's go to the scoring system. Once you register in the platform, you will be assigned 25 applications each person, and you will score the applications. And you, according to this criteria that is described in your manual and on the screen, you will have on the applications, you will have special places where you can put the ranking, the scoring, and also at the end of the whole application, you will have the comment box where it's required to give a description of how do you find the application, the substantive parts of the application, and what is it in. So there are several criteria about the how to access or score the applications, which is personal motivation and clarity, how well it explains, how sincere. Also, the next one is the relevance to the call focus, clarity, how it's eligible within the context of the call, and effectiveness. Obviously, the next one. So whether it's like what is the professional profile of the applicant, and what is the cultural role that they take, and then what the cultural activities they also do, or the lead, and what impacts of the application and the receiving grant, how the grant will support them, and the activity and resilience, and actual feasibility and coherence, which meaning how the money or the grants or the budget is planned and funds, and how they're going to be implemented, basically. And so the applications will be read. You will access the applications. You will give the scoring, and you will need to do this up until 9th of March, but several days before the 9th of March, maybe 2 days before the 9th of March, we will ask you to finish all the scoring in the system. And then you will be contacted by us again, and we will share your pair with whom you will need to, who also looked through the same applications as you did, and you will need to come up together and discuss and come and share with us your top 3 applicants from the piles you reviewed. You can do it, you will be able to do it with the email. So within email, you just share with us your number of applications, like the number of applications that you suggest us to be the best top 3 applicants for from your pile, from your 25 applications. The important note also is that if you have some conflict of interests. If there is someone like a family member, or you've worked with someone before, or there is some issue maybe with this application that you received, or the applicant whose application you received, please contact us immediately. We've described in the manual more in detail which is the conflict of interest. And please contact us immediately via email, and we assign for you another application.
Irina, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Just a small clarification on the conflict of interest. So only those cases count, strictly speaking, as conflict of interest where you have currently a working relationship with. So, I mean, we understand that it is a small scene and you might be affiliated, you might have worked in the past with several of these applicants. What objectively constitutes a conflict of interest is those that you're currently working with or in contractual relationship with. Yeah. Otherwise, if it's something that you were involved in the past, it's maybe helpful if you take a note in your comment box when you do the assessment. But strictly speaking, these are the only cases and family members and unresolved conflict, as Irina mentioned, that you really need to rescind from assessing that application. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and also there is also a few points that we wanted to cover. The grant is given or funding only the person who is applying for the grant. So not extra activities, not third parties, not for the project. It's only for the support of the mental well-being of the applicant. The only exception can be if the applicant is a caregiver or the parent to a child who is 16 years under the 16 years old and can be left alone. So this is one of the also eligible criteria. Yeah, and also I wanted to add, particularly to this one, is that the next phase that is going to happen. So once we receive the ranking and all the scores that you've given us, we will do the phase 3, which is done by consortium partners, which is we will take the final decisions on the applications and the winners of the grant, so to speak. And the final list will be made also with the consideration of the geography of the applicants, of the gender, of the professional activities. So it will be more like a coherent and more inclusive list. We might contact you again with some clarifications on the final selection. Might not, might yes. Yeah, and then just several mentions for the very important days for you to remember, that so you will have access and basically can start the scoring process and evaluation from the 25th of February up until 9th of March. By 9th of March, we need to receive your ranking via email. By around 7th of March, it's good that you finish your individual scoring within the good grant system, and within this sometime during the 7th of March, sometime there, you also receive you'll receive the email address of your evaluation partner with whom you need to discuss and come up with the ranking from your pile. And then the rest is preliminary discussions within consortium partners while we do the final selection and final list. Yeah, and then yeah.
And just to reiterate what Irina said, because it's an important point, and just to give a bit of also insight into our thinking about your scoring and the 3 top selected applications. So the reason we ask you to do that is not because that doesn't mean that we will not be looking at your overall scoring. We will. But in our experience, it's often scoring is quite a subjective exercise. And some of you may be consistently applying higher scores and others might be a bit more strict and give overall lower scores. That's not to say that there's an overall difference in terms of quality. It's just how you approach it. It's a personal thing. So in order to sort of minimize this possible discrepancy, we sort of added another layer to make sure that from all pairs, we have an understanding of which were considered to be the strongest applications, regardless of the score, so that it allows us to make sure that there's, this bias is somehow tackled, bias in between the different pairs. So that's just I think it's an important explanation. And what Irina has already mentioned, so just to reiterate in terms of how the final decision will be made, you saw it in the presentation that we will award approximately 7 to 10 grants per round overall. And so, and none of you will have, so each of you will have just a small glimpse, right? 25 applications from all the eligible ones. So it's important, we will follow your suggestions. We definitely will take it into account, your scoring, your assessment, and your top threes. But in order for us to have this coherent set of list of applications and that it makes sense from the result perspective, our consortium partners will be, this is let's say the angle through which your results will be reviewed by the consortium partners. And there might be some small changes in the actual, compared to, let's say, the hard figures of scores when we compile them. But generally we intend to follow your suggestions. But because of this, in order to make sure that there's a balance representation, like Irina said, of gender, geography, discipline, backgrounds, issues, all of that, there might be some small changes in the final decision. I hope this helped a bit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Irina and Silvia.
And then now we will go to the good grants, and Joy, our colleague, will explain a little bit more about the platform and how it looks and where to click.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Irina. So my name is Joy, and I'm the grants coordinator for the project, and I work a lot with Good Grants platform. And I sent you all an email yesterday from Good Grants welcoming you to the platform and asking you to register for the account. So I hope that you all received the email. If not, please contact us or Irina or Uliana, and I will make sure that you can access the platform. So I will show you a preview of Good Grants. I'm going to share my screen in just a second. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so we will send you the link to the platform, and you will register or log in here. So I put in my email address and then just click continue. I've already entered my email address. My password. So once you log in, you will proceed to the review section of the platform. So this is what it will look like once you log in. And in this section here, you will see the instructions for the assessment procedure. And then the applications will appear under my reviewing assignments. So at the moment, they have not been allocated, they've not been assigned, but you will receive more detailed information next week with instructions on how to navigate the platform and how to assess the applications. So for now, all you have to make sure is that you're able to access the platform.
Joy, would it make sense to maybe open up a previous form just to show how it looks like, with the question, the scoring boxes and the text box?
At the moment, no, because like for the previous round, it's been closed, so I cannot access the application from here, unfortunately.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so as I mentioned, you will receive further information on how to navigate the platform. And if you have any questions, technical difficulties, please feel free to reach out to us.
But just to give you, like a word of reassurance, this is an incredibly easy platform to use, and don't think that this will require I don't know, in-depth training or you know, as if you wanted to get into a completely new tool, like, I don't know, suddenly you're expected to work with Trello or Notion or whatever. So this is going to be super easy. We never had any issues with any of our external reviewers who had trouble navigating the system, and generally it's quite user-friendly and easy. So I don't think you should be worried at all about this. But if yes, Joy is here to help.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, thank you. Irina, anything else I should mention?
I just wanted to ask from the participants, if you do have any questions, please ask Joy your questions, maybe some concerns or something, so we can address those now. If not, please don't hesitate to write us, and we will react to all the issues shortly and efficiently.
Yeah, and you should have received an invitation from Joy to join the Good Grants platform on your emails. Yeah, so if you will have an opportunity, please check your mailbox again to be sure that you have received this invitation, and you do not have any technical issues to sign up.
Yes, and I hope everyone can hear me. I also recommend checking your spam mailbox. The welcome email might be there if you don't find it in your main inbox. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Uliana.
Yeah, I just wanted to suggest to move to the useful tips.
We might go right now for the eligibility criteria right now, and for the how to access and go through the eligibility. If you, Uliana, could open the presentation again, please, with the eligibility section.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, so main activities, the main idea of the grant is that supports the mental well-being and mental health and resilience of the applicant who is applying for the support. So it's for the individual, not for the project, not for the professional development, not for someone else, not the third parties, just for the individual who is applying. And the eligible activities that can be covered by this grant is also it's psychotherapy, psychological counseling, trauma-informed coaching, emotional support sessions, restorative care, rehabilitation stays, visits to cultural institutions, events, participation in masterclasses or workshops, other justified well-being oriented services and support resilience activities. The main point here is to emphasize that all of the the evaluation of the application and applicant and the activities is it's still subjective exercise, as Sylvia already mentioned, and we can't give you the full guidance how to access it fully. But there is a main point to that is that it needs to be the application and the applicant, the activities need to be looked comprehensively at the whole story, and also how the grant supports the well-being and resilience of the applicant. So if it is, for example, visit to cultural institutions and events, it needs to be seen how it's framed. It needs to support the resilience of the person, of the well-being, of the psychological and mental health. It can't be solely about the professional development of the applicant, for example. Same with the restorative care and rehabilitation activities. So it's more like a comprehensive look, more like holistic look to the process. It can be like yoga, meditation, for example, not exclusively, of course, but it has to help the applicants to restore the mental health or support it and the well-being in general. And also, there always can be some connection to the professional activities and based on the professional activities, but always with the look on the individual who is applying. If I'm clear, Sylvia, you might maybe help me a little bit to give another perspective on that.
So far, so good, I think.
Okay. Okay. And what are not eligible activities? So purchase of medication, of medical devices. So this grant is supportive grant. It's not the medical grant, sort of. It's not for the medical purposes. There is no surgeries, no medical consultations with the doctors, nothing like that. It's just for this rather psychological and psychotherapy support. It can't be used for payment of rent or premises, for tuition fees, training costs, different styles. It can't be used for also for the cost of living support or some humanitarian support. So if someone is applying for like tuition for the support of their everyday life, this grant is more concerned about the cultural activities and the mental well-being of the applicant who is working in arts and culture and with the displaced communities and veterans. Yeah, so this is about it. And also about if you could come back, please, Ilana, to the slide where it says about who can apply. Yeah, so who can apply? People who are aged 18 and above, reside in Ukraine or have to flee the Ukraine, artists, cultural managers, activists, volunteers working with displaced people or with refugees within one of the Creative Europe countries, and submitted obviously the full application. The language doesn't matter, either Ukrainian or English. It's also important to note that the volunteers can work with the humanitarian action, but part of the activities needs to be within the cultural field. So, yeah, so it also needs to be the element of working in arts and culture. Yes, one of the I see from the chat the grants can cover the travel. If it's to the events or the sanatorium or something like that. Yeah. So those are the main points. If there are some questions or my colleagues wants to add something. No private info, no, it's just for the individuals. It's like фізична особа. More questions?
Yes, for a while. About the taxes, we have 1,200 euros, including taxes. And do they know this, how it is represented in budget? So do they understand that the actual grant is lower than 1,200 euros? Because you pay taxes for them, as far as I know, our legislation.
No. They pay taxes themselves, as far as I understand the process.
Yes. Yes, so that's why actually, so in the first edition of this Culture Hub Solidarity, this individual grants, the amount of these individual grants was set at 1,000 euros. And the reason we now increased it, besides obviously the inflation considerations, was that this will then allow them to still keep more or less the 1,000 euro amount, like net, and then the 200 is an addition covering the tax implications of receiving this grant. But this is something that we cannot do as a Dutch foundation working all over Europe. We can't be responsible for 40 plus types of taxation processes, you know, depending on where the grant will be paid. So now the standard procedure is that this is a gross amount, and then the individual themselves, they are responsible to pay the taxes that are applicable in their particular case from this.
So we should have a line in the budget taxes, and I should see that this person understands that he or she will have taxes. And if we do not have such a line, and we have total 1,200 euros, it's a big mark, because it's
yeah. I mean, we do say that it's including taxes, but fair point. So maybe that's something that we can add to the useful tips and emphasize it even more. That this is something that they need to consider when they set the budget, or let's say the main cost items. Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I also have a question about applicants. What if the person who lives in Kyiv, Kharkiv, Zaporizhzhia, Odessa, Dnipro, like frontline cities or like more dangerous cities in Ukraine apply? They do not work specifically with veterans or like other groups of people, but they still work with locals in more like dangerous conditions. Are they people who are who will be able to get the grant or not, or just those people who work specifically with these groups?
No, they would be eligible. I mean, what you're describing is actually also local communities very much distressed and traumatized by and vulnerable communities. And vulnerable communities can be can mean a lot. It can, of course, veterans are, let's say, a focus group in this project. But what you describe is absolutely also one of the target audiences, vulnerable communities. Yes, thank you.
And also, like, they've been also affected by war in this regard, also within the eligibility criteria.
Exactly. So maybe just to emphasize that. So it's important the communities that they work with, but again, as Irina has already framed here, the main point is the personal background and circumstances of the individual who's applying, right? So it's equally important what their own personal motivation and needs are, so that they can serve those vulnerable communities better and in a more sustainable way.
Any more questions, clarifications?
Maybe one more. The notes which we should do in grant platform. These notes are for you or for the applicants? Who will see them?
For us, mostly. The only reason maybe if they ask for the individual feedback, you might use those comments and notes just for framing the feedback.
But in general, we don't give tailor-made feedback
yeah,
to rejected applications, and that just has to do with resources, really. But in case someone is really insisting on it and maybe considering to reapply and would really like to have feedback, we will get back to them. And like Irina said, we will not quote you verbatim, but we will use your arguments to come up with a constructive feedback for them in case they want to apply again.
Also, the travels that are mentioned in the applications, they need to be reasonable, and they need to be more or less environmentally friendly if it's possible. Yes, it also needs to be taken into the consideration.
So reasonable as in no first class,
yeah.
And not taking flights, I mean international travels, of course, to very, very easily accessible by train connection destinations. So really common sense, I would say. good to hear everything is clear then.
Okay, I suppose if everything is clear, we can wrap up our briefing or meeting today. And obviously, if you have more questions, you always can approach us with the emails and contact details that you received in your manual. Basically, me and Uliana are on the other hand or other side of those emails for your reach and clarifications.
And yeah, maybe just to reiterate, it's kind of self-explanatory, but and goes without saying. But in case you have issues because of, I don't know, power cuts, or just simply run out of time, and you expect that you won't be able to deliver on by the deadline, please let us know. And it's easier for us if we know it a bit earlier, so we can maybe come up with alternative solutions or extensions or whatever. But there's a lot of different things that we need to coordinate. So the sooner we know about it, the better. And of course, we will try to work with you and come up with a solution. We understand that it's a bit of a shaky circumstances, and things can change very quickly on the spot. So we will work this out. But the earlier you let us know, the more.
Oh, it stopped and it disappeared.
Didn't like my nice words, apparently, the recording. Good. Anyway, but I meant it. So anyway, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for your help and for your participation, and looking forward to working with you further and to hear your feedbacks, comments, and scoring and see as well.
Yes.
Great. And then we will wrap up and have a good evening then.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Take good care.
Keep in touch.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.